Good evening. It is 6 o'clock in the Eastern Caribbean, 5 o'clock in Jamaica, and 4 o'clock in Belize. Welcome to Let's Talk Access, a social media program produced and presented by the UWI Open Campus. I am Cleveland Sam, your host. On today's edition of Let's Talk, we are going to be focusing on the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute, one of the many units in the UWI Open Campus. In particular, we will focus on a three-part series workshop that the Labor Institute is hosting in the month of October. And we'll start with a bit about the Labor Institute. With me are two guests, Mr. Dylan Doyle. He's a Senior Administrative Assistant at the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute. And joining him is Dr. Suzette Henry Campbell, People, Culture, and ADR Specialist, who will facilitate the workshop, and we'll find out all about Dr. Henry Campbell later on. Dylan and Susan, welcome to Let's Talk Access.
Thank you, Dr. Sam.
Suzette, welcome to Let's Talk Access.
Thank you.
All right, Dylan, let me start with you. What is the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute?
All right, good evening again, Dr. Sam. Good evening, Dr. Henry Campbell, and good evening, viewers across the Caribbean region. The Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute is a labor college. It's one of 6 labor colleges in the Caribbean. We were formed in 1963 as a gift from USAID, and it was formulated to give access to an underserved portion of the Jamaican population in the Caribbean region. In the earlier days of the Institute, when we were known as the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute, we had one of our flagship programs, which is a 1-month introduction to labor studies, where we'd have participants from right across the Caribbean region. But as time has passed by, we have seen less and less persons coming to Jamaica to partake in that course. Nevertheless, we still continue with that course and other courses in industrial relations and labor dynamics. Today, the Institute has undergone a name change and be refocused to offer training and research in labor dynamics, in labor education, but not generally focusing on the trade union movement anymore, but generally speaking to all and sundry in the labor market. So that is part of the thrust that we are undertaking now as a part of the UWI Open Campus since 2008.
Oh, awesome. So, I mean, 1960s, so you've been around for a very long time.
Yes, we have.
And am I correct that the late, great Professor Rex Nettleford used to be part of this institution at some point?
Yes, definitely. Professor Rex Nettleford was at one time the head tutor here at the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute.
Right, so it is, I mean, and when you have somebody like Professor Nettleford in your corner, I mean, as I said, he has departed now of blessed memory. So awesome stuff. And you mentioned that in the past, you had face-to-face courses where people from the Eastern Caribbean would come to Jamaica for this 1-month program, but that has been discontinued.
Well, the course has not been discontinued. We have had to revamp the course. It's still the 1 month. Well, we generally refer to it as a 1-month course because, again, because of our history, persons know and identify the course as a 1-month course. But what we have done now is that the course is offered over a semester, 2 days per week over 1 semester, because as times change, some of the employers have said that it's difficult to lose an employee or 2 employees for an entire month. So we stretch it over a semester and they do 2 days per week. What COVID has done actually now, though, Dr. Sam, is that it has presented us with a golden opportunity for us to offer that course again, for it to be more viable throughout the region. So we're currently examining if we could offer that course online where our brothers and sisters from across the region could once again take part in a way that would defer some of the costs that they don't have to travel and seek housing in Jamaica for that period.
Certainly. I mean, and as I said, COVID has been a great opportunity for many of institutions, including the UWI Open Campus. So before I get to Dr. Henry Campbell, Dylan, so what type of programs do you offer now in addition to that flagship course?
Okay, so in addition to that flagship course, we have several other courses. We have some structured courses. We have a certificate in labor studies. We are currently in the final stages where we have developed a postgraduate diploma in industrial relations. We have also a 10-week certificate, strategies for enhancing organizational productivity. And then we have a number of ad hoc courses in industrial relations, and we also do a lot of soft skills development, one of which Dr. Campbell will be administering for us in October in this series of workshops, which is emotional intelligence.
All right. And just to be clear, you are located where?
We are located on the UWI Mona campus, right where we have the UWI Open Campus Countrysides office.
All right, thank you very much. So there you go, folks who are joining us on Facebook and YouTube. In case you did not know about the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute before, now you are up to par with that. As I said, our other guest and the facilitator for the workshops that we'll talk about in a minute is Dr. Suzette Henry Campbell, HR practitioner, etc., etc., etc. Dr. Campbell, tell us a bit about you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sam. Good evening all across the territory. I'm Suzette Henry Campbell, and I'll just give this shortest version because as Dr. Sam said, it's etc., it's etc., it's etc. So my earliest start in terms of labor and labor management was with the Ministry of Labor. And that was coming right out of university, right out of undergrad. And I got this beautiful opportunity to understand how we perceive labor and the relationship between labor and employers. That was an 8-year, 9 months journey, which took me over to the Hilton Worldwide. So I got the state experience working with the government, and then I had an opportunity to work with an internationally branded company. With that experience, it opened my world to not just the internationalization of business, but also standards, looking at standards as drivers for productivity, etc. Beautiful 6 years between Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. And thereafter, the academic bug bit, and I decided to go and pursue a PhD in conflict analysis and resolution, which again marries well with what I did in my earliest life, the career path I chose, which anchored a lot, not just the theories, but we're now looking globally at conflict, how it presents itself, and in terms of de-escalating such tensions. So as you pointed out before, COVID has raised a lot of the gaps. And I think it's now time that we begin to look at how do we resolve those tensions. We have a live case study going through, it's a living moment in history. And I'm very happy to be part of the process in terms of expanding how we look at conflict, how we look at utilizing those tensions to create change, as opposed to looking at it as something to fear.
All right. And you're going to be the facilitator for these programs. But I'm going to go back to Dylan, just to give us a bit of a rationale as to why we are doing these workshops, Dylan. It's a series of 3 workshops. According to my notes, we are going to be looking at, let's see, where are my notes? All right. So alternative dispute resolution and capacity building for your business, conflict management and resolution and grievance procedure for your organization, emotional intelligence and change management at the workplace. Dylan, very heavy stuff.
Well,
why are we putting on these workshops at this time, Dylan?
Well, we're putting on these workshops. We have always put on these workshops, Dr. Sam, to be honest. The Institute is in the business of ensuring that we play our part to make our organizations and institutions, primarily in Jamaica, but right across the region, ready to be competitive in the world of work. So not because they term us as third world countries, we're offering first class service, right? So we want to ensure that all our citizens and our workers, our persons who are involved in our labor market, they have cutting edge information to be able to make decisions and resolve issues and being able to interact with the world, because we know the world is now a very small place and businesses from the Caribbean are doing having interactions and doing business with organizations outside the Caribbean. So we want to be able, we are doing our part as the University of the West Indies and the Open Campus specifically to ensure that we play our part in nation building and building the Caribbean region and ensure that we are competitive.
Excellent stuff. However, there's a difference with these workshops, Dylan. These are not going to be face-to-face because you're targeting organizations, individuals right across the region.
Yes, most definitely. And as I said before, the Institute, we are a regional institution. The University of the West Indies is the melting pot, is one of the socializing agents of the Caribbean
Definitely.
region, right? So we are just trying to, we are using those tenants to spread our wings to ensure that we offer the services that we have as wide as possible. We have been doing so in a face-to-face manner. In fact, last year, November, myself and Dr. Henry Campbell, we were in Anguilla, where we did a 2-day workshop of this nature, as well at the invitation of the Anguillan government. So with that said, we are pretty much now, because COVID has presented us with this opportunity, we are ensuring that we seize this opportunity and offer these programs that we think would offer a lot of benefit to the persons right across the Caribbean region.
All right, Dylan. So we are offering 3 workshops. Can you tell us what are the workshops and when they will be hosted?
Okay, so the workshops will be hosted in the month of October. I think we start on the 15th, and we start on the 15th with, I think it escapes me at the moment what we start on the 15th with.
I can help you there. Alternative dispute resolution and capacity building for your business.
Yes, so we start on the 15th with that workshop, which in essence, it's self-explanatory, but to go into some of the nuts and bolts of it is that it gives the organization the capacity to be able to solve conflicts and grievances, because we know that invariably that is a part and parcel of every organization. And if you have the mechanism and the ways to resolve those conflicts present an opportunity for you to get better. So we have to know how to manage them and know how to resolve them so that we can solve those issues and then move forward in terms of what we really and truly need to do. So that is what we're trying to develop, the capacity of businesses to be able to do that. And the 20th, we have, on the 20th, we have I think we have emotional intelligence is the last one, Dr. Henry Campbell?
Yes, EI is the last one.
Okay.
Conflict resolution is the 20th.
Yes, so conflict resolution, the 20th of the month. And again, that is within the ballpark, again, of being able to now deal with issues that might arise between employees as well as between the employee and the employer, right? Especially in a time where COVID has presented us with so much challenges. We must be able to resolve these challenges because we are living in unprecedented times. We have not seen a challenge of the nature of COVID in over 100 years. So we have to dig deep and find and build the capacity to be able to resolve issues that might arise so we can get back to normal as soon as possible.
Right. Yeah, so I'm going to ask Dr. Henry Campbell really too. I mean, what can participants expect in these workshops, Dr. Henry Campbell?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sam. So for the first course or program, we're looking at ADR, and with ADR, it's alternative dispute resolution. So you're looking at a toolkit.
Thanks for explaining that first, please.
No problem.
Could you just repeat that one more time?
It's ADR, that's the alternative dispute resolution. So what this course is intended to do is to equip participants with the toolkits and I guess an understanding of the levels and layers that they can use to resolve those tensions and challenges within the organization. I think a big part of what will be anchored to the right across the course is using the analogy of an iceberg, where you're seeing the tip and it's also gorgeous. You're on a cruise and you pause and so pretty. But if you go too close, you don't know the depth of this thing nor the width of this thing, what is likely to happen. So by anchoring all these three courses to that, I'm hoping that the participants will get to understand that sometimes you have to dig, go below the surface. You may be anxious about what you may find, but to continue to sweep things under the rug or to continue to ignore the issues, when they become gigantic, you are without the skill sets to address them. So there's an urgency, and again, COVID has presented an opportunity to really dive into what we do as businesses. In good times, we're okay with, somebody did something, you discipline them, you may terminate, but what if that person is a good worker? How do you intervene in that behavior? How do you transform the language from punitive, right, to intervention, to support, to coaching? And that's threading all three of those, the courses. Now, mind you, with ADR as giving you the layers within which you can resolve those tensions using institutions, that's one leg. If we flip over to conflict resolution, you're not just looking at the organization, but you're also looking at those internal conflicts that you have as an individual, right? You enter a space, you're coming with history. With that history and the history of others, socialization, etc., how people perceive the world, that creates tensions. And you need to understand sometimes you need to step back to regulate the environment in such a way, not just yourself, but to read the cues, read the temperature of the room. What am I getting from the room? If I do this, what is likely to happen? So it's being intentional. There's an intentionality to how we approach conflict, and a destination in terms of either managing it, because there's some things you cannot resolve, managing it, but anticipating what is likely to happen and being adaptive enough to treat with it, because you'd have built confidence in whatever apparatus you would have created to resolve it.
Right. And emotional intelligence, such an important skill that a lot of us do not always use or do not always have in organization. What are you hoping that the participants would take away from that particular session?
All right, what I usually start with, and I want to make it extremely clear, is that the participants are not empty vessels. I usually say you're coming to me with experiences as well. And I do not want to discount or discard that, because I am also in a learning situation, particularly as a researcher, and the curious element of wanting to understand what obtains in other jurisdictions. So with that said, the EI portion of it will explore culture. We're talking about regional groups here. We cannot take it for granted that we all think, behave the same because of our common history. And I want to also open up the lens to critique our own behaviors in circumstances. So we're going to have a lot of examples, hoping the participants will bring their own examples as well. Don't have to tell me the company you're with, right? So we can keep that anonymous, right? but you open up the lens. So we are in a learning environment, and we're getting enough data that we can go back and build out systems within our organization. So it's regulating our behaviors, managing the environment in such a way that we can anticipate when an issue is going to emerge, and then what skill sets will we have to address those sticky, stubborn issues.
Sounds like awesome stuff to me that every employee in the Caribbean should really be participating.
And employer.
Oh, certainly. So Dylan, let's talk about the business end of this now. As we said, so these programs are being hosted on the 15th, the 20th, and the 27th of October. One workshop each day. What are the times? How can people register to participate in these programs?
Okay, for the registration component, we'll deal with that aspect first. In the flyer for the workshop, there is a link to a Google Docs page where you would go and you put in your information that will help you complete registration. Attached to that as well is an Excel sheet where all your information will be available to the Institute, and then we will get in touch with persons who have registered in terms of letting them know how they will pay and how they will receive their certificates and all other information, relevant information that they might require as well.
Right, just to stick a pin, we're gonna put the link in the Facebook and YouTube chat, just in case persons are following and want to see the link and register right away. We're gonna put that in the chat for you momentarily. So you can check the Facebook chat as well as the YouTube chat, depending on where you're following us for that link. Sorry, Dylan.
Yes, yeah, no problem, Dr. Sam. Yeah, so that is in terms of the registration component. As it relates to the costs, if one person, if you're going to register for one workshop, the cost for the workshop is $70 US. If you register for all three, workshops, there's a discount you pay $55 US. And if you register 5 persons for each workshop, there is a further discount where you get, I think it's $50 US that you would get each workshop for.
All right, so there is incentive for companies to register more than one person's to participate.
Yes, there is.
All right, and I know I said earlier, Dr. Henry Campbell, that everyone should really be participating, but we know that that's not going to happen. But who do you think should be in this workshop in all reality?
Anybody in the business of managing people, well, or employees. I think there's a great opportunity for blended learning, blended approach, but also because we exist in a multi-generational space, multi-generational organization, it is a great opportunity for folks to kind of get a sense of how each operates, what are their thought processes, their worldviews, etc. Because I think that's important, particularly as we experience this disruptive period. So it's open to anybody who is in people engagement as well as their employees.
Oh, Dr. Sam, I'd just like to add that we're going to ask persons, even though we know COVID is on, and some countries are affected to varying degrees, but we're going to ask that persons to facilitate payment, that whatever country you're in, we're asking you can pay. An option to pay is that you can go to the nearest open campus site and make your payment right there. So we're trying to facilitate ease of payment in that you can just go to your regular open campus site and make the payment there. And the university now will do its due diligence internally to reconcile.
That's excellent. And we have open campus country site in 16 Caribbean countries. So that's pretty much the whole region from Bahamas, Jamaica, right down to Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, so that's awesome. And the times of the workshop, is it that these all-day workshops?
Yes, it's all the workshops. I think we start at 8 Jamaica time, and it will be 9 EC time,
Right.
and we go up until 4. During the course of the workshop, there's a 1-hour break, and Dr. Henry Campbell will and the participants will determine how they use that break. 15 minutes, half an hour, depending on the flow.
Right, and of course, these workshops are being done online.
Yes, they are definitely being done online. We're going to be using the Zoom platform for these workshops.
So once persons register using that link, they would then be sent the Zoom link with the password and other credentials.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so if you're following us on Facebook and YouTube, you can send us your comments and questions in the chat feature on Facebook, and we will ask those questions to our panelists. Yeah, in the meantime, and are there going to be any certificates, Dylan, for persons who participate? What type of certification are they going to receive?
Well, the University of the West Indies Open Campus, we have our criteria for the different types of certificates. So because this workshop is going to be pretty much, I think, 6 contact hours, is a certificate of participation that participants will get. And participants will get it at the end of the workshop. We will make the arrangements. Well, we make the arrangements in terms of them getting the certification through the Open Campus country sites that is closest to them as well.
All right. Dylan, both you and Dr. Henry Campbell made a very important point that I want to pick up on. You spoke about the shift from just being a trade union center where you train trade unionists, budding trade unionists. And Dr. Henry Campbell, you also made the point about moving towards alternative dispute resolution. I mean, are we seeing in the region, Henry Campbell, you're in HR, training and so on, and Dylan in a labor college. Are we seeing a move away from the whole confrontational type of relationship between labor and industry?
You want me to take that, Dylan?
You can go first, Doc.
All right, thank you, too kind. So as time evolves, particularly if you're looking from the first industrial age to now, you'd have seen a softening of relationships. And that has been led partly by globalization, internationalization of businesses. So obviously there's some carving off of what happens when you have this cross-pollination. What are these best practices? So whilst that movement, moving from industrial relations to employee relations, there was a noticeable change in that businesses started doing what they ought to do in terms of engaging their workers, providing the things that the union would agitate for. So obviously that would carve away from the union what their role would have been. So the change itself is good. There are a lot of these progressive companies that are doing it, and certainly these best practices are catching on. What I'd like to hasten to say, though, is that it doesn't mean the trade union is irrelevant, especially today in the history we're living through. What it means is that the trade union will have to reinvent itself to be partners with, as opposed to the confrontational style of the past, let's say the 1930s through to the 70s. And that partnership, when I worked with the Hilton Kingston, there's one particular union officer who was way ahead of his time, Mr. Sinclair, I think he passed. And his approach was not the browbeating or, the traditional way of treating with agitating, but really to have conversations. And this would have been in 2000, 2006. So we do have representation on persons who are representing this change or from the union, and it's a partnership. I think the narrative is changed to collaboration and partnership.
Right. Definitely sounds that way. Dylan?
Well, Dr. Sam and viewers, the Institute, again, because of our long history with the trade union movement and labor education and labor dynamics, we have seen, and we've had the opportunity to see what has gone on in the region in terms of negotiations and the interaction between the public sector, private sector, between workers and their representatives in terms of how they negotiate for fringe benefits, salary, and stuff like that. The default process of negotiation has been what we call distributive bargaining, which is where somebody takes an approach and digs in the heel and says, irrespective of what happens, if the heaven falls, this is what I want. What we have found that does not necessarily offers the best situation for us to come together and use our resources in the most sustainable way. And the Institute, led by Mr. Danny Roberts, we have tried and we are in the process of re-engineering how we practice collective bargaining, right? And we are trying to do that with an integrative approach. We like to call that a win-win approach. And part of the reason why this is also prominent, and we have to also take the lead in this, is that the proponents or the main proponents of the labor force now and going forward, the millennials, they are demanding different things from their employers, right? So we have to change the approach in terms of how we deal with the persons who are going to make up the labor force going forward into the future, right? It is expected, the research suggests that in the next 15, 20 years, approximately 50% of the jobs that now exist in Jamaica, and I suppose the region as well, they will be obsolete. So new jobs will be coming into play. So we have to have different types of engagement and different strategies in terms of how to manage and interact with the persons who will be performing these jobs. And that is where the Institute is heading under the leadership of Mr. Danny Roberts and our Principal Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Longsworth.
Sounds good, sounds good. And I like how Dr. Henry Campbell contextualized that in the whole era of globalization as well, because I think that has certainly played a significant role in the way labor matters are treated. And the approach now is more stakeholder engagement rather than, you know, bargaining and beating the table and calling a strike and these type of things as well. Awesome stuff. So we have no questions so far. It means that you guys are doing a really good job of explaining this and providing the information. Dylan, if someone wants some additional information on these workshops, can you provide your email address for them, please, so that they can contact you directly? You're muted.
Mike.
Okay, thank you. So my email address is, my name is Dillon, D-I-L-L-O-N .D-O-Y-L-E @open.uwi.edu.
All right, so there you have it. Dillon.doyle@open.uwi.edu if you want additional information. And he did say earlier that once you have registered, you can go to the Open Campus site nearest to you to pay the registration fee. All right, and it sounds to me as well that a lot of the persons who are involved in trade unions themselves, Dr. Henry Campbell, need to be in these workshops. You're muted as well, Dr. Henry Campbell.
Most definitely. What we want to do is to have reach. And as I said before, many of these folks desire to move up the totem pole as well. So whether you are part of the union, whether you are a clerical officer, whether you're a supervisor, whether you're CEO, CFO, we would like to have contact and this kind of engagement, because the future of work depends on that. And we talk about that a lot, but do we know what we really mean when we say the future of work? And Dylan pointed to something that is critical. The change we're experiencing now is very disruptive. I mean, I'm home, my kids are home learning, and you can hear the frustration from both teachers, parents, everybody. There's this learning curve that we have to hit. And
right.
many of us are struggling, right? Yes. But this is the future, and we were getting hints about it, right? We were getting these hints before, but then it took something drastic for that pivot to take place. So again, the call is for anyone who wants to evolve and to boost those skill sets so they are well ready and prepared for that future that is coming. Well, the future is here, but at least to be able to manage the challenges as they emerge.
All right, Dylan, I just received a request on WhatsApp for you to repeat your email address very slowly, and I will ask Sharice, our technical assistant in the background, to also type your email address in the Facebook chat as well. So Dylan, if you could go ahead and repeat it slowly. And for the individuals who are interested in contacting Dylan, we're also going to put it in the Facebook chat.
Okay, Dr. Sam. So the email address is my name, and it is spelled DILLON.DOYLE at OPEN, that's open.uwi.edu.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm sure that you would be receiving some emails in the coming days, Dylan, about additional information on the workshop. Again, as usual, everyone always wants to know the cost. So if you can repeat the cost structure again for us, because there are incentives for organizations sending more than one participant to the workshops.
Okay, Dr. Sam, thank you. If you register for one workshop, it is $70 US. If you register for 3 workshops, for all 3 workshops, it's $55 US per person per workshop. If you register 5 persons for 1 workshop, it is $50 US per participant for each workshop.
Okay, there you have it, the cost structure for the workshops. And as Dylan said, the flyer is on our Facebook page as well as our website. And we have also put the link for the registration page on the Facebook page. So you can also click that and register as soon as possible. Dr. Henry Campbell, can you just repeat for us the topics for the 3 workshops on the 15th, the 20th, and the 27th?
Okay, let me just make a quick pull. Just bear with me.
All right.
And okay, so we have on the 15th, that's alternative dispute resolution and capacity building for your business. That's for the 15th of October, followed by conflict management resolution and grievance procedures for your organization, and that's on the 20th. And the final icing on the cake, so to speak, would be October 27th, and that's emotional intelligence and change management at the workplace.
All right. And these are all important topics. We said that persons, regardless of the level you are in an organization, should be participating in the coming weeks with the Open Campus, and specifically with our Labor Studies Institute. Dylan, any final words that you would like to give, encouragement to persons to register for the workshops?
Well, Dr. Sam, I just want to tell the persons, our brothers and sisters across the region, to come to Jamaica via Zoom, because now COVID has, restricted our movement, and I'm sure we can give you a little bit of a Jamaican flavor and a Jamaican culture, right, through the interaction with persons from Jamaica who will also be in the workshop, and myself and Dr. Campbell, and experience the University of the West Indies in this new online platform, because this platform will be with us. I think this is a part of the future. So we just need to, get on board, and the information, I know, will be rich and be beneficial and will definitely make you more skilled, right, and more knowledgeable to be able to execute your job functions going forward.
All right, and Dr. Henry Campbell, you're the one who's going to be equipping these people with all this skill and depositing this knowledge. Your final words.
We're both going to share the space, Dr. Sam. But listen, it's a beautiful opportunity, and as I said before, it's the engagement where you're bringing your experiences as well. So even though I may have the experience locally, regionally, and internationally, we're building something, we're creating something. So once you get into any of these courses, or if you're coming to all three, which would be nice, right? Just come, be present, be ready to learn, eager to learn, and to share your thoughts about where we're going in this new dispensation.
Awesome stuff. Remember, you can also get additional information on these exciting series of workshops by contacting my colleague Dylan Doyle at dylan.doyle@open.uwi.edu. And of course, you can also visit the Open Campus website at www.open.uwi.edu, or by, of course, visiting us on our Facebook page. And if you're looking at this video, you can also scroll through and find the link to the registration page, find a link to Dylan's email, and you can send him an email if you require additional information. Thank you so much, Dr. Henry Campbell and Dylan Doyle, for joining us on Let's Talk this evening. And to you, our viewers from across the region, thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. You have been looking at another edition of Let's Talk Access, a production of the UWI Open Campus. On behalf of the production team, Patrick Johnson, Cherise Glasgow, Richard Bath, David Foster, and all who have helped to produce this program, I'm your host, Cleveland Sam. Goodbye.
Bye.